Wiki, welcome, Warcraft 2 fans, to Mystical versus Poscow, part of the 2017 World Championship of the World Wiki, Warcraft 2 Tournament of Champions. Big shout out to Harold, Alf, Sappy Snickers, Mystical Swift, and Poscow, all in the Watchers section. Over at the 9 o'clock spot, it is, of course, the mystical, just getting married, not too recently. It's been little bit. He had Paperboy Soul as one of his best men in his wedding, so congratulations to Mystical, living the family life now. And of course, Poscow, I believe from Poland, one of the original great Warcraft 2 players. And so it's going to be very interesting to see which of these two players takes home that championship belt. This is round number 2. The first round, game number 1, was 20 some dang minutes long, and it was just too long for me, so Mystical, very well known for his epic late game strategy. Poscow, just well known for to be awesome at Warcraft 2. Mystical this time going for the old 2 barracks rush. What will Poscow do? He'll be doing himself a 1 barracks rush. So is this a 2 barracks level 1 rush? No, just a straight 2 barracks rush. Getting himself some farms up here and walling this area up for the late game. His 2 barracks strategy fails him. Meanwhile, both players have the original grunt on the map, and it's 2 grunts here from Poscow going to meet up with one Mystical's 1 grunt. They're going to take him down, and that should allow them to know exactly where Mystical is in this map. So he'll likely do his 4 grunt group up and head off in that direction in order to try to cause some severe economic pain towards Mystical. He comes down here towards the middle of the map and then swings on up to the northern sections. But it looks like Mystical's quite ready for him. He has his belly swelled up, has 3 grunts awaiting. But 4 grunts attacking the 3 grunts. Here comes the 4th grunt in defense. And it is actually Mystical who has the upper hand in this battle. So, pretty good for Mystical. The 1 barracks, no lumber mill, or is there? Yes, there is indeed a lumber mill here for Poscow, already eyeing towards the late game, but Mystical's trying to shove all of his resources, and even bringing out a peon. Is he going to take this peon towards a cannon tower rush? This could be, ladies and gentlemen, the old famous cannon tower rush. As Mystical sets up shop right outside of Poscow's base. He wants to be attacking a little bit to get that little bit of a choke there. And Poscow's actually going to have to take this assault here. Mystical does have the superior number of forces, but Poscow gets himself a nice 4-3 defensive choke. And then he'll get himself either an axe thrower, a catapult, or a guard tower. And it is indeed the guard tower, which is what he wants to get. He does have his lumber mill, so it shouldn't be such a bad thing. But wait, there's more. As the watchtower now set up off in the distance, this is going to be the old cannon tower rush. No lumber mill as of yet, so cannon tower the only option. Mystical wants to end it all right here, right now. Doesn't want to go for another 25-minute late game, so he's going to be trying a little bit of cheese. But macaroni and cheese, well, good. Might not be enough to defeat Poscow in this game. It's going to be really exciting to see who does eventually come out on top, however. Looks like fall has arrived, as many leaves lying now in the grass. Alright, cannon tower up, but doesn't quite reach here, and a very good 3-2 choke here. So while that peon is repairing, he's going to be taking some damage. The catapult is out And that should be enough for poscow to fend this off here. Some pretty good stuff here from both Mystical and as the farm does fall indeed. And now the forces of Mystical able to push in there to defeat poscow's defensive structures. Is able to take out that catapult, but not much else other than that. And now let's see, has he decided to get himself a lumber mill? No lumber mill as of yet. Poscow versus Mystical. Moving on into the late game, and no lumber mill quite of yet here from our hero, Mystical. Second guard tower here. And look here, is this even in range of that cannon tower? No, not quite. And we do see the cannon tower is going to strike down with great vengeance that grunt, and these grunts are going to move right on in. I think they're wanting to go for these wood choppers here. Not a bad idea from Mystical. Not a bad idea at all, as he could very evenly evens up the wood chopping, as his wood foraging parties of Moscow are quite a bit harassed there. Still, no lumber mill for Mystical. He needs to get that lumber mill if he wants the late game to go as well for him as the early game has gone. Alright, I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. I want to thank my sponsor, Body Blazers. Body Blazers is back, and here comes Mystical with yet another attack. Just doesn't want to lay off of Poscow's wood foraging parties, and once again, all of the wood foraging parties going to need to run to someplace a little bit more safe. Oh, while these grunts run around unhindered in the back of Poscow's base, there are ogres now. Ogre technology has made itself known here. An ogre mount on the way from Poscow, and finally, from Mystical, and finally the old lumber mill has now arrived here. So he's pretty soon going to be able to catch back up in the old late game or mid game resource game. Alright, the ogre is now pushing out. There are some grunts there to defend against this cannon tower. And defend they do. Level 5 grunts versus level 4 ogres. And with that cannon tower there to defend. And they're able to make it a defense of it. So 3 ogres now coming out there. They really want to get this cannon tower struck down. So they're going to run around town. Do a ring around the cannon tower. And do their best to destroy it, but not quite get the job done. This is good news here for Poscow. For Mystical. Mystical sends a peon out there, but 3 more ogres. They just can't decide what they want to do, and they are indeed going to take out that cannon tower right before the peon does arrive. So that peon's going to have nothing much to do. What will he do? He'll be moving on down here to the southern sections, and maybe he'll maybe he'll get himself a death and decay place. Yes, a Temple of the Darn, as tier number 3 has now arrived. Mystical's got to watch it, though. He doesn't have too much defenses. And Bloodlust is just around the corner for his opponent. Let's see how his own Bloodlusted foray is working out for him. He does have Bloodlust underway for himself. Actually, a little bit ahead of Poscow. But Poscow with a little bit larger of the ogre army. And a peon from Poscow pushing out to start building these scout farms. So this Temple of the Darn could work out very well for Mystical. It does look like Poscow sent an ogre up here to the 11 o'clock spot. So he's going to start to pound down those farms. And one single ogre breaking off from the herd at home to deal with this. And that's going to cause that ogre to run around, so he's not actually going to stay and fight. He just wants to scout out around. He can see maybe some wood choppers here in the soft underbelly of his opponent's base. And it is indeed the 2 o'clock in which, and looky here. Wow. He's getting some farms built up so we can wall off a DK behind this 2 o'clock spot early on. And will he decide to do exactly that? Death and Decay has just arrived, or just about arrived. It has indeed now arrived. Will he go straight for the front door? 9 bloodlusted ogres make that 11 bloodlusted ogres, making their way towards the front door of Mystical, who's only got 9 bloodlusted ogres rushing to meet him. And it's going to be very interesting to see who wins this game. Alright, the first ogre battle winds up in favor of Poscow. But do recall that Poscow is going to be facing Death and Decay at the home front very soon. Here's the DKs climbing, sneaking all the way up into the northern sections of this base. That's going to kind of confuse his opponent on where his DKs are possibly coming from, so he can now see. Not going to launch the Death and Decay quite yet. He's got a lot to deal with as his defenses have been breached. Mystical doesn't have a whole lot here at home. He was planning pretty well earlier on. There's the old 1-ring telephone ring. Oh, no, 2-ring telephone ring. Alright, so the Death and Decay does, in fact, happen at that 2 o'clock spot. But the front door of Mystical has been pretty well knocked down. And he has discovered this hidden Temple of the Darned here. So Poscow looking very good so far in this game. Mystical has set up shop down here and it's mined quite heavily. And he's replacing his barracks that have been lost, but so far the game has been very much so in the upper hand of Poscow or Mystical. Dun dun dun. The second barracks being created, but Poscow very much ahead in the driver's seat of this game. So I think we're going to have to go ahead and call it GG in the favor of Poscow. I thank you guys all for tuning in. Mystical doing a very good job of coming back, but his Ogre Mound about to fall. He's way ahead of it though, already getting himself a Blacksmith and an Ogre Mound and another Temple, so not giving up that easily. Mystical known to go the long haul when it comes to games like this. And alright, Bloodlusted Ogres there, and Bloodlusted Ogres here for defense. Mystical is able to make a defense of it. So he's going for farms. His entire base has been destroyed, however, so we're going to have to go ahead and call this in favor of Poscow. I thank you guys all for tuning in as the DK comes around and put the last nail in the coffin of Mystical Poscow, taking home the big B here. Once again, I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. Tune in next time when we have yet another Wiki Warcraft 2 audio presentation brought to you in part by Body Blazers. Body Blazers is back, baby. So Wiki Warcraft 2.